Hi, my name's Barry Darnell. I'm a Director of Career Analysts and we're the distributors of Morrisby products in Australia and New Zealand. You're probably here because you clicked on a link in an email I sent to certified users who are also the main contacts in schools. And this is really a heads up that things are changing. You don't need to do anything right now, but from the 1st of October, when you log in, you may go to a page you don't recognise, and hence I sent this email now rather than when the product is actually ready in Australia. And that's going to be something like, I don't know, hopefully early November. So objective today is just to show you what's coming. What I'm going to do is go to the Students tab, and we have the school here, Riverside, and it's for schools who might either use Morrisby Profile and or Morrisby Careers. Morrisby Careers being the aspirations only version. If you're using Morrisby Profile at the moment on pretty much a whole year group, you get Careers for free, hence I'm showing you this. I think the vast bulk of people watching this will be using Morrisby Profile. So I'm going to impersonate the student and just show you how the look and feel is changing. And I think I mentioned before that you don't have to move to this until, you can't move to it until probably November, but you'll have pretty much a year to make the transition. So no rush at all to jump into this if you don't like what you're seeing. What we have is we have 3 tabs: About Me, My Choice is Progress, and repeated at the top. Aspirations to be completed for the student, and there's just a new look and feel. Nothing really to be said about this. If you're not liking the look and feel, I can pretty much guarantee it's going to grow on you. When I first saw it, I thought, oh, it's not what I expected, but it is actually a really nice presentation in my view. Priorities is part of the interest-only component, as is study interests. And study interests is changing. Historically, it's always been available only to those who are saying that they intend to go on and do tertiary study, but it's being changed, so it's now available to all students. So if you're going to leave school at 18 or 17 or whatever, you can still complete the study interest questionnaire. So this is essentially what I used to call the inputs, what students tell us about themselves. My choices is the outputs, and there's a new presentation. If students haven't completed anything and they've come here and just done the aspirations questionnaire, they will have to set their academic attainment. The presentation here is moved to panes of information, or you could look at them in the traditional way. When we go into one of these careers, it looks quite different now, designed for students who are scrolling rather than clicking between tabs. We won't have all of this, so we're not, for example, having You Will Need. But a lot of work has gone on in the last probably 6 months, rewriting roots information and academic and vocational notes. It's now about 645 careers in the Australian database, and it's all just been rewritten end of October, so end of September. And there is a new and improved presentation of the roots information. And if you haven't been using this, essentially the thicker the line, the more common the approach to that career. So it's around the ideas of there being freeways and pathways. Pathways exist, but they're not that commonly used. Then we have, as you'd expect, related careers, and down the bottom, resources. And there's been a lot of work gone into checking the resource links. It has to be checked constantly because the various organisations change their website structures and the links die. There's also a new structure coming in. So at the moment we've got useful links, case studies, professional bodies. In the new structure there's 6 or 8 different headings. And the idea behind that is where there's a lot of links, they're structured in a way that you can find the one you want more quickly. Final thing to be said is that we now have a percentage suitability. It's always been there behind the scenes, and the question is it misleading to show that or not? And the decision's been taken, hey, why not show it? Qualifications. Not much change there. Destinations, there's a bit of change. So here we've got options at 18, course search, which isn't coming to Australia, that's the UK's higher module, and information on apprenticeships. Apprenticeships hasn't been adjusted for Australia at all yet, but you'll see a very similar thing to what you had in the past. If we go to options at 18, the same 150 or so study areas, of course supported by the study interest questionnaires, the students do it. One thing that I do find interesting, and an improvement, is as well as being scrollable, there's now a way of identifying if there's an apprenticeship available, apprenticeship or traineeship, and I think that's a really nice addition to the system, and quite a lot of information here as well. So final thing, the planner page. which is no big surprise, no real changes. There is a new tab though, which is called Progress. Now this has really been designed for schools that use the tracker system, so they'll be getting kids in year 7 to do careers lessons, identifying they've done those lessons, if they do any activities, grading them on the activities, setting timelines for them. There's a whole calendar and process behind that, which I just might not bring to Australia because I don't know, everyone would want it, but I don't know how many people would actually make the time to use it, because it's, you know, careers across the curriculum and whole school careers education is great to talk about, but how many schools are doing it? But it's all designed for that, so if you wanted to use that, we can turn that on for you and show you how it works. One of the interesting things here is that, as well as setting up an action plan, you can link into the skills builder system. I could talk for hours about this, I think it's excellent, but if you don't know about it, it's worthwhile looking at. I'm just going to, competencies here, they're internationally driven. Everyone and their dog, most companies, all states, all territories, all countries have got a different view of what good performance looks like in a particular type of work. And what Skills Builder have done is done an international review and summarised that. So with that summary, they're able to have some phenomenally good and useful resources aimed at schools to help them build whatever you want to call them, so enterprise skills, transferable skills, skills for the future, whatever you want to call them. You can build those in Skills Builder and import the data into Morrisby. So let's say we looked at staying positive. It would take us off to the Skills Builder world. You can log into that, it's free of charge. Schools can have a free login, individuals can have a free login. And let's say they thought, or somebody said, we think you're about step 5 out of 15 for staying positive. It'll define what it is, talk to you about it, and this is great for lessons if you have the time for them. And then there's advice in terms of how to teach it and for students, etc. So if we are looking for educators, then you can get a toolkit, you can join it, and you can build on it. And if you build on it, this will be lesson plan stuff that you could use. Say a bunch of free resources. You can split them up in terms of how long it would take to do, and you can go through activities, including loads of little videos, making points, and there are lesson plans attached to those. We've got 23 of them linked into the tracker system within the new build of Morrisby. And those lesson plans are going to be available whether or not you use the tracker module. Other new thing is the locker. This, we're not quite sure how this is going to develop, but essentially it's an e-portfolio. What can I say? At the moment it has notes and interviews. The UK use a concept of personal statement. When students apply to higher education, we need to have a crafted personal statement within a certain number of characters, so it'll manage that for you. Download reports, and again, if Tracker was enabled, you'd be able to create activities, update evidence, and basically build a portfolio that you take with you through school and of course after school. So I'll be looking for suggestions about how we build Locker, depending how schools want to use that. I'm now going to go back to Manager, and there's lots I could say about the system, and I won't go into it too much detail now because there will be a lot more videos around this. But you can see for first time academic expectation for students. When we click on assessment, if students have completed the aptitudes, you'll be able to see how well they've done. So it might say there might be a double plus or a single plus or a single minus there. It's all colour code, and with the mouse over it'll say maybe they rush through the items or they work slowly but carefully, etc. On the left are the various components. At the moment, if we click on Tracker, it says you're not eligible for that, and higher won't be coming here. There's information around a calendar, which again is only relevant for Tracker. And there's going to be a section around resources, which is actually quite a long way down the track but hasn't been finished. And you'll be able to add your own resources to these, as well as having the 8,000 plus links available. So what to do from here? Well, what I would say, oh actually I should just say that Dashboard is now here. Dashboard is basically the old Stats tab, turbocharged. And the thing about stats in the existing system is you can only look at statistics for a year group. You can now look at it at a group. So if I created a group, I could say students in DCAL, if you're in Victoria, or students doing advanced maths, you could pull those out and have a look at the data for them separately. And if we go to the home page, there's going to be a lot more information here which will essentially solidify any customizations for Australia. So we've got our own video, we'll have Australian administration guides, etc. So at the moment people are kind of doing a little bit of our own thing, and what we want to do is at least start them off with a more standardized approach, which has been written by us but agreed with by Morrisby. In terms of training, there's going to be there is a knowledge base which will grow. So if you know how to transfer a candidate, there's a whole bunch of information here. And there's going to be a support portal and lesson plans. And there's these 23 lesson plans which are currently being customised for Australia. And they'll be available and you can take that content and use it or not. We're working behind the scenes to get this as good as it can be. It's being launched in the UK. So by the time the customisations have been finished, or are pretty much finished in Australia, when we bring the system over here, we'll start moving people over. We'll write to you about this, and there'll be a form that you can complete saying if you want to. Many people will want to come along to webinars where I do one of these, but it'll be more interactive. And many people will want one-on-one discussions based on Zoom, etc., to talk about how their data moves. And if you go back to the screen here, top right here, I could approach I could look at all the different centres, and we can look at those. So you can actually see in a Zoom session what it would look like for you and your existing clients, and have a look at the system interactively with myself, Glenn or Emma before you decide you want to move. Thanks very much. So as soon as I showed the video to people, they all came back and said, what about that teaser with Tracker? Why not just show it to us? So I'm going to take a couple of minutes. Don't forget, this is not necessarily going to come to Australia. It could be something for a few years' time, it could be next year, and if it does come, it will attract an additional cost. So I've gone to a different centre here, Morrisby High School, to demo the Tracker, and clicked on Tracker. We've got a whole bunch of planned activities here. We can click on one of these and find out more about them and download resources. If we look at student activities, you select a group, and let's say we want to look at activities allocated to students who are in year 11. We go to Adam. I'll come back to him later. So currently he's done one student activity. If we look at the careers plan from an overview, this finishes at year 13, UK stuff. We'll be coming down to year 7 to year 12, and there's things like what is awareness, you can create your own activities, etc. from here. Going through these, year 7, there's one thing in spring, again UK, what is work in year 8, year 9, assuming we do aspirations in year 8 in Australia, assuming that, then they do this here. What are employability skills, looking at transferable skills, moving on, etc. We can also look at the forms. So here you can do as you've always been able to do. You can copy forms, you can edit them. So if you want to look at CV Builder, for example, there's the form in here. It's created. If a student fills that in, it's available for them to hang on to and edit over time, and also for the careers advisor to download. So I'm going to go back to students, and you see here it's got tutor group and house, etc. That's all because Tracker is linked into the management information system in the school, so there can be an interchange of information. Again, something that's easy to say but harder to actually achieve. I'm going to go to Adam. If we click on Adam, we have a summary of who he is, information around the careers, basically just a summary of the student. You'll get this, everybody gets this. If I impersonate him, we go into his personal view, and if I go to progress, we can see there's an action plan here that's been completed. There's one component. If we look at activities, there's a bunch of activities. Only one of them has been completed, but there's a few others linked for him. If we look at essential skills, he's engaged in that and has information in the system on how he's performed in listening, speaking, and aiming high. And in the locker, he's put information in the locker. So here, for work experience, Designs for Life, he's created some evidence here, and he's uploaded a file, which is actually quite a nice little picture there. I don't know who EH is, somebody will. So here's where students will just pull information in over time and just hold it in their locker. Just to repeat, don't get excited, not necessarily coming to Australia, but if there's a demand, if people start shouting, saying, oh yeah, we pay for this, and our school would love to spend curriculum time developing students in a broader manner, then absolutely it will come. Thank you.